Howdy. Today, we are going to be taking a look at Magic Square Heavy Gunner. And, you know, the more I look at him, the more I think he kinda looks like Brawl from Transformers Generation 1. But that's probably just a coincidence. This figure comes with one combiner foot, one tank-mounted blaster, and one handheld blaster. In his robot mode, Heavy Gunner is so incredible. I mean, this figure is quite possibly the pinnacle of Magic Square's engineering. It's incredibly well articulated. The only place I can think of on this figure that isn't as articulated are the toes. And that's it. Like, the toes don't tilt, but otherwise it's got deep knee bends, deep bends at the waist. It's got an ab crunch. It's got butterfly joints, fully articulated fingers. Like, it's got the works. And this figure can pose better than any figure I've ever seen before. And it doesn't use die-cast. Some people might see that as a bad thing, but it really keeps the weight down, and I think it's better with helping this figure just pose way better than anything I've ever seen before. You can get it in these super dynamic poses that you wouldn't be able to get other figures in normally, and I think this figure looks really good. It's covered mostly in paint, with a few select pieces like internal joints being just straight molded plastic, but they did a pretty good job of matching the paint. Overall, I think this figure looks great and feels incredible. Here's how Magic Square Heavy Gunner scales with Deluxe Class Deep Cover, Voyager Class Sweep, and Leader Class Grimlock. Here's how Magic Square Heavy Gunner scales with X-Transbots Klaatu, Takaratomi Masterpiece Blue Streak, and Fans Toys Jester. Here's how Magic Square Heavy Gunner scales with Robot Paradise Acoustic Wave and X-Transbots Big Load. In his vehicle mode, Magic Square Heavy Gunner is a tank. In his vehicle mode, I think Magic Square Heavy Gunner looks really good. Again, the paint really kind of shines through on this figure. It's not as shiny or metallic or eye-catching as something like a Fans Toys, but the fact that they painted this makes it look way better than if it were unpainted. And this thing holds together really well. I know that maybe sounds kind of stupid, like obviously it's a tank, it's basically a brick with wheels, but no, seriously, I mean, this thing pegs together really, really well. I know a lot of people who have handled Magic Square's smaller scaled figures would be concerned with a figure this size because they have a tendency to use a softer plastic. However, Magic Squared has assured fans that this figure is made of mostly ABS, and you can tell because tabbing in these side panels on the tank is kind of challenging, I'm not gonna lie. You can see here there's a bit of a gap between the side panel and the main body of the tank because those tabs are really, really, really tight. But it's not frustrating to the point where I want to throw this figure across the room. But it is still really tight, so if yours is too tight, you might want to take some sandpaper to those tabs and shave them down a little. I haven't because it's not to the point of breaking, but I would say err on the side of caution. Otherwise, I think this figure looks really cool, and I think the turret edition on the back of the tank really helps to sell the kind of big, armored look of it. Here's how Magic Square Heavy Gunner scales with Deluxe Class Deep Cover, Voyager Class Artfire, and Leader Class Laser Optimus Prime. Here's how Magic Square Heavy Gunner scales with Fans Toys Hunk, Takaratomi Masterpiece Blue Streak, and X-Transbots Big Load. Here's how Magic Square Heavy Gunner scales with Hasbro Masterpiece Movie Brawl. Here's how Magic Square Heavy Gunner in leg mode scales with Fans Toys Etherion and X-Transbots Monolith. I hope you've enjoyed this brief look at Magic Square Heavy Gunner. I got this figure from Magic Square Toys directly. If there are any other figures you'd like me to take a look at next, leave a comment down below. And as always, I'm Leo, reminding you that plastic toys don't belong in plastic prisons. See you next time.